We jump into game. In the bottom left, from Storm Gaming, our Blue Protoss, MaxPax.
In the top right for Team BIG, it is ShoWTimE.
What
Indeed.
Wonder what ShoWTimE is going to bring against the MaxPax expand. Obviously, MaxPax will expand, or some kind of expand, even on maps with no ramp. He's got it very well figured out against a lot of the aggression. He does sometimes still slip it up, because it's very difficult to do this. That's why no one else does it. ShoWTimE isn't most well known for being the aggressive player, but obviously, sometimes you do have to try and just punish MaxPax and just try and stop him getting there, because if you don't, you're just giving him somewhat of a net advantage every single game.
Yes. So, said indeed, because they really are just playing up to the expectations so far from the first 30 seconds. MaxPax natural expands even without the high ground advantage that other maps give, and ShoWTimE going to go ahead in 2 gates. Not going to try and do anything a bit trickier than that. Like, I think against MaxPax, we do see occasionally some people try 1 gate expand high ground, 2 gate expand low ground, you know, to be a bit tricky. This is usually usually the best thing to do from what ShoWTimE's position is, actually 2 gate expanding, is to attack. But it can also come down to how good the probe block is. So ShoWTimE, I mean, he's going to try and block it as long as possible. Maybe even throw down that pylon, Cybernetic core. Anything along those lines? I mean, Zealot's going to definitely pop out. MaxPax, no, definitely can't skip that, but...
Yeah.
There you go.
Gets the pylon into place, and it's just going to slow down that expansion that little bit longer. And yeah, as a Cybercore finishes, ShoWTimE can start up a couple of units himself. Maybe start thinking about some tech as well. Let's see exactly what he wants to do. ShoWTimE is going to be up against a Stargate of MaxPax. He has not scouted that, and the probe is going to stick on the natural a bit longer. We'll see if he gets back in the main to scout again. Puts the pylon down one more time. He really works on delaying this as much as possible. There's 2 stalkers from ShoWTimE back at home to take note of what he's building.
He's gonna try to escape.
Oh, so close. Good try.
Yeah. Wait a little bit longer for the regen. So yeah, I mean, it's still the fact is ShoWTimE's gonna be much farther behind on the Nexus. So he needs to find some damage done, so that again does put him into the more aggressive position. To actually go 2 gate to 1 gate and try and still play out a macro game basically never goes well. They'd have to not make the Zealot, and it'd be their fault. You know, and then you can do as many blocks as you want. So ShoWTimE is going to be aggressive. MaxPax would generally expect this and is generally very good at defending against whatever aggression is. But, you know, it could be a couple of different forms. Could be Robo, could be Twilight Council, could be just like the gateways. MaxPax did try and get a probe into the main base of ShoWTimE to determine exactly what it is. But ShoWTimE deterred it and is out chasing it down.
Yep, probe gets chased all the way out the right-hand side. Needs to be a little careful because obviously Stalkers will be needed somewhat to push the Oracle back. Even if you've got the battery, it buys you time, but it isn't a full-on defense. Eventually you need something to push that Oracle away, especially if we get to a double Oracle, although MaxPax, I think rightfully so, is building a Voider and saying, yep, set myself up to kind of really be able to, you know, defend rather than fully focus on offense. You're going to start draining battery energy, and ShoWTimE is finally going to be scouted as well, so MaxPax now sees Twilight Council. He will know that this is going to be aggression because it's off 1 base, and well, that means you have to start setting up some static defense in the main, most likely, because the biggest benefit of these Blink Stalkers is they can bypass the defense that MaxPax sets up on the natural. And by forcing him to defend in 2 places, you're already splitting up the investment of MaxPax, which gives you the best possible chance to really break him on this fast expand.
Yep, MaxPax, the faster he knows exactly what form of aggression you're throwing at him, the sooner he can get set up in multiple locations if need be. Also be wary of certain timings, like power surges of the different aggressive builds that can happen. And this build choice, the Twilight Council Blink attack, all in really, you know, there might be one before Blink is done, but the real power is when Blink is done, and then you probably have enough Stalkers to one-shot Void Ray. Yeah, so that's the scariest part here.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. One shot on the Void Ray is the scariest and most necessary part from ShoWTimE because he needs to take those down without the batteries healing them. And that's why it's actually very important for him right now to not be losing store, because he needs to make sure he hits that one-shot potential. He actually doesn't have high ground vision, right? So what I said about defending the main base, not necessary. And that's very well noticed by MaxPax. He's not really done anything to set up in the main base. We are going to see the Void Rays taking some shots. It wasn't a one-shot, it was a 2-shot. He did get rid of 1. The Zealots are putting in work defensively, though, and MaxPax is, for the moment, making this look pretty decent for himself. A couple more batteries are coming up, and he is getting some in the main just in case as well.
I was going to say, you know, a sentry popping out for Lieutenant Phoenix is not the wildest thing. Jump on top of that Void Ray, but takes so many shots to kill all of them. That ShoWTimE stalker count afterwards is pretty abysmal. MaxPax has all these shield batteries to fall back to. And ShoWTimE, dreadfully low on that supply. It is mostly in workers, yes, but it's going to take him a while to get back up to that one shot of the Void Ray. And there is going to be another Void Ray eventually. Can he one-shot the Stalkers at the very least? Not even that so far. And I can't two-shot him either. Zealot's tanking a lot of those shots. I think MaxPax has got it, man.
Yeah, I think so too. That's the power of MaxPax. He's just very, very good at kind of doing this. All this time, he's also just dropping stasis wards every now and again, utilizing his Oracle on the other side. We've obviously been focused on these fights, but there is stuff going on the other side too. That's just keeping ShoWTimE a bit busy. And yeah, I mean, ShoWTimE, like you say, just the one shot in the Void Ray is so important, and he just doesn't really have it. And right now, maybe he has a two-shot, but yeah, again, how long does it take him to two-shot? How many Stalkers die in that process? Is it too much? I would say generally probably yes, although for the moment there, the Void Ray was kind of on its own, but Stalker count's just not good enough right now.
No, I can't even one-shot the opponent Stalkers.
Yeah.
You know, there's something to at least one-shotting them and getting rid of that buffer, but can't even do that. Does finally get the Void Ray, though, and is starting to approach some amount of momentum.
Yeah.
I mean, the Stalkers of MaxPax, that last one awfully low. Shield body overcharge won't last forever. That was a one-shot anyways, and MaxPax is not as settled as I like to believe. He is still in some trouble. Good denial on mining once again, limiting ShoWTimE's reinforcement potential. Void Ray number 5 pops out. And while they don't have an overcharge for the shield batteries, that does still have prismatic alignment now. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, Prismatic basically means you can't fight this as ShoWTimE for a little while. You gotta at least give it a few moments. Prismatic just does so much damage, so you gotta be very careful there. It does shave off one more Zealot. These batteries, a couple of them still pretty healthy. We do have overcharge ready again in about 15 seconds, so that will be important to note here, as even ShoWTimE with a Zealot that maybe comes into the front to tank. We're about to have a second Void Ray, so maybe it is time to go for ShoWTimE. But second Void Ray is now here, and again, the numbers just aren't there. It got kind of somewhat scary, but just don't think it's scary enough. Blinks in, doesn't do anything, and it does really look as though MaxPax just has what he needs to take this game one defensively.
Wonder if ShoWTimE had managed to kill that 7X core faster, if that would have made a difference. Again, the lack of Stalkers on the ground can sometimes contribute to the death of the Void Rays in the air, but woulda, coulda, shouldas. MaxPax with a game 1 victory.
Yeah, very solid just game from him, just doing, talk about scripted, right? Like, if we're told to write a script for, like, MaxPax versus, another Protoss, maybe ShoWTimE or whoever, a fast expand defense against someone trying to one-base all in him is, like, it's just so on brand for MaxPax, right? It is absolutely what was expected. Even from ShoWTimE, who is very comfortable in a macro game, doesn't want to just let MaxPax kind of come into the series and say, oh yeah, I can just expand every time I want to, because I feel like that's a bad precedent to set, because then you're saying to your opponent, hey, take the lead if I'm just going to expand more slowly. It becomes a weird situation. It's just impressive that MaxPax can hold all these things. Like, people know he's going to do it, and he just can't be broken down. Like, and no one else copies him because it's so difficult to do. Like, that is the biggest testament to it. It's not like he revolutionized PvP meta, because nobody else has followed the meta, right? Like, everyone else is like, I just die. The Blink Stalkers jump on me and I lose. It's like, okay, well, why can MaxPax do it? Because he's just that freaking good. It's actually ridiculous. Like, it's maybe one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in StarCraft, because how often do you see someone with their own brand, their own style that just can't be figured out? It's incredible, or copied. Yeah.
You don't really. As soon as someone figures out something, other people will eventually figure it out as well.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll still be the best at it. Like, let's say Parting's Soul Train build.
Yeah.
Other people did it, at the very least, even if they weren't as good with it. But anyone who tries to replicate MaxPax, specifically on a map that does not have a natural ramp, they fail. So with a natural ramp, there's a little more to, I think, trying to match him on his 1-gate expanse. And so we might see that here on Babylon, but yeah, that's up to ShoWTimE. So here we go. Game number 2, bottom right. It is Systrom Gaming's MaxPax.
And the top left from Berlin International Gaming, looking to break through the top 16 today. ShoWTimE.
The previous results between these two are heavily favored for MaxPax. It wasn't too long ago that ShoWTimE 2-0'd him, but that's one victory in the last 4 months, second victory in January, and then before that, there was like a 6-series win streak for MaxPax. And the last time that they have played in a best of 5, it was 3-0. So, in MaxPax's favor. So this is definitely a tough match for ShoWTimE.
I was gonna say, do you think this might be the worst draw for ShoWTimE? Like, and I don't mean, like, obviously, like, you know, outside of the top players, because, like, I feel like ShoWTimE's been very competitive against Clem, very competitive against Reynor and Serral. Maybe not winning series there, but, like, showing a lot of hope, but the PvPs and listing off those results definitely makes it feel as though, like, MaxPax is just not a player he can really figure out or get by, so I wonder if this is, like, one of the worst draws ShoWTimE could have found himself in for round 1.
I think so, especially considering how likely it was to not happen. MaxPax got 6th, which is really like 7th because people tied. But anyways, you know, it could have been Gung Fu. More realistically, it could have been Gung Fu or Bly. Lambo even could have performed a little bit worse. Even Skilless performing a little bit worse would have been a better draw for him, even though PvP can still be difficult against Skilless. So yeah, it's one of the worst ones. I would say so. Getting a bit unlucky with how the actual end results of the top 8 of each group went down, and then of course the actual draw of it. So yeah, it's a bit sad. That is honestly a bit sad, because it has felt like ShoWTimE was supposed to get a lot farther in a lot of the regionals, and sometimes he had a decent chance, and then he just, you know, he just didn't play well enough, and that's fair enough. But other times it feel like he would get really unlucky. So he's made top 4 in regionals twice in the last 3 years, I think, when it you know, as one of the best Protosses, if not the best Protoss, before MaxPax's power surge. Like, you would expect more. But now he's facing MaxPax when MaxPax is most likely the best Protoss player in the world right now.
ShoWTimE just hasn't strung results together. Like, TSL was like a great performance for him, right? Where he got top 3. Or, yeah, top 3. That was like a really cool performance from him, but like, that was the first time in a long time it felt like ShoWTimE was able to string like a set of results together, because if you put ShoWTimE up against a Serral or like a Reynor or a Clem or Hero Marine, he can win series, he can show great games, but man, did he ever struggle to like do that like 2-3 series in a row versus different opponents, because that's why he didn't really hit, you know, much more than a top 4 and had limited top 4s, you know, throughout the previous regionals. So very interesting to note. MaxPax puts on the pressure here as they both went for a Stargate-based expansion, and that means we are PvPing it up with Phoenix versus Phoenix. So PvP in the PvP. There was an Oracle first from MaxPax. We'll see if that can do some damage. ShoWTimE will have a Phoenix advantage. And yeah, if that all stands, then this should be pretty okay for ShoWTimE. One of the things that was always crazy to me about MaxPax's PvP outside of this development of his one-gate expands and so on, though, was his Phoenix versus Phoenix play is so good because he was always so confident. Like, he would sit on the edge of a base and be so confident, be able to pick off a unit and then get out. Whereas usually in Phoenix versus Phoenix, you just sit back and you don't do anything, right? And I feel like that was something that's really kind of set MaxPax apart in PvP for me as well. So, kind of excited to see them play Phoenix on Phoenix. Because, yeah, to me, it's almost like classic MaxPax, if there's even a classic MaxPax to be had.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Last time, I believe they played Phoenix to Phoenix, ShoWTimE did lose pretty quickly. But that's just Phoenix for you. As soon as you're behind a Phoenix, you're behind. Right now, it's MaxPax who's behind one because he went for that Oracle. And the Oracle can sometimes be the better option. But what was interesting is that he actually moved it as if he was trying to kill ShoWTimE's ground units. Like, he was hoping that the Zealot and Adept was going to do something, because he moved it into the natural, of which there were very few probes. The main base eventually got a shield battery, but I actually think if MaxPax had gone right to the main base, he might have done some damage. But he also might have been caught by a Phoenix, because that would have been the expected move. So that's the conundrum there. And now the Oracle is just a bit of a waste of space, hiding in the bottom left.
Just waiting for the right time to strike. Natural is still undefended if the Phoenix move out, so there could be an opportunity on opening there at some stage. So MaxPax biding his time, waiting for that chance. The Phoenix are looking down the left-hand side, though. They seem to be aware that maybe there's something hiding down here, and he's going to find it at this rate. He has clicked right towards it. Okay, he did see it. Noticing that, he is going to chase, and the Oracle has the lead, but it's not enough. And we just dropped the consolation revelation as we turn around and back away at the Phoenix now.
MaxPax shouldn't be as confident in his aggression as he currently is. I don't know. I don't know. He might have been right. but even the world's best Phoenix players, I don't think can really, truly 100% know, you know, the production and the reinforcement time because they're so fast to reinforce. And then counting Phoenix when they're bundled up, forget about it. No one knows what they're going into. Neither, but I mean, MaxPax is better bunched. I'll give him that much, but otherwise, how can you tell just looking at that?
Well, no, you really can't. But this is exactly what I thought MaxPax is good. Like, he's just so good in Phoenix versus Phoenix, and that was an example of it. Just very bunched, very ready. Just more bunched than ShoWTimE was at any point of this, and boom, he grabs a single shot, and boom, he gets a kill straight away. And you know, that's already a move just to bring him back a Phoenix and just even things out a little bit, and that's why he's been very good. His ability to engage with these Phoenix is really quite high. ShoWTimE starts Anti-Ion Pulse Crystals. The Phoenix range is going to be met by MaxPax as well. He did force ShoWTimE to that left side base for the third because he pylon blocked him, so that's a factor we're going to find again. Bunched up Phoenix versus unbunched, and just MaxPax, like I say. He's so deadly with these Phoenix. He's so good at finding those slight opportunities and making so much of them.
You're really getting proving your point, man. MaxPax doing you a favor, making you sound like a genius. But seriously, this is better performances from a very identical Phoenix opener than I've seen in a while. Usually it really is if someone gets ahead by one Phoenix, GG. But this is showing that there is some micro to even a completely even Phoenix matchup. ShoWTimE really should take these as slaps on the wrists that still allow him to live. You know, like he needs to recognize he also needs to be microing better, and he's not. He actually starts this fight very much not bunched up.
Yep. I mean, basically the same as what we've been seeing. This time he's very bunched, but he has one Phoenix ahead. The rest doesn't seem to matter too much. This is still 4 Phoenix killed to the 2, so MaxPax is still benefiting, and the numbers are 1 ahead now for MaxPax as well. They both have range, they trade out here, and this is obviously the somewhat silly part of Phoenix versus Phoenix.
It's actually so stupid. I don't know if I would prefer them just to run all over each other. I think both are pretty stupid. That's what's gonna happen with such. I mean, these units are just perfect. You know, they double shoot. They're fast shooters. They're fast builders. They're fast momentum. Reinforcements. They also stack because they're air units. So that also contributes to why the fights are so dumb. And because they can also technically hit ground, they are something that you can literally dedicate to. And now we finally have the decision. MaxPax reading it correctly. He was actually winning that fight.
Yep. Yeah, he just knew straight away, and now he gets another catch as MaxPax catches ShoWTimE on a lift, which just means the Phoenix were shooting elsewhere. It's now a 6 Phoenix kill difference. I don't think there's a matter of the battery here because there's just too many Phoenix from MaxPax. Maybe now we're not quite one-shotting. Yeah, not quite one-shotting, but some of those low HP Phoenix will still go down, and that's exactly what we know, and he just knows he can sit there. MaxPax is so good at Phoenix versus Phoenix. You're right, he proved my point, and this is not to brag, it's just because that's exactly what... I remember him playing a game on Curious Minds against ShoWTimE, and it was this exact scenario where it's like, the start was super even, maybe someone built an Oracle, but it was close enough that like basically they should have both sat back and massed Phoenix and nothing happens. And MaxPax just camped the edge of ShoWTimE's base, and he was just so constantly clumped and just looking, and then boom, he grabs one Phoenix, and then somewhere else, boom, he grabs a second, and that's the game. Like, it just snowballed from there. Like, not a single time did ShoWTimE get to fight back or kill a Phoenix himself. I mean, it's just ridiculous when you look at it like that, and that was... I mean, that just shows you that you can be good at Phoenix versus Phoenix. Apparently, that was... I mean, I guess in my eyes, it's exactly what I expected from it, but cool to see it's still the case, I suppose. Not so cool for ShoWTimE, who is now in trouble. Down 0-2 already in this series, CG.
It's really weird to say that there's an endless amount to talk about when it comes to the last Phoenix game, because usually there's not. Usually it really is just one person's ahead, and there we have it. And then if someone does make a comeback, it's all about what that person did wrong. And I guess you could still argue that ShoWTimE microed incorrectly, but just it usually is like, oh, they fought over a shield battery when it was 2 Phoenix to 3. Like, of course they're going to be... The 3 could still could still lose out. But no, that was just actually micro and great confidence and positioning. And then what I also really like about MaxPax is he brought that probe out to start putting down pylons to block buildings.
Yeah.
Because one thing, of course, that Phoenix can't do is take care of buildings. And then I think I've even seen him add on shield batteries. So I know I've seen Hero do it, but yeah, this is just He's just, I don't understand how he is so good.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be able to replicate it. I didn't think I was, but now I'm really sure. So let's get into game 3, shall we? In the bottom right of Neo Humanity, it is the Blue Protoss MaxPax.
I can't believe I was here for the one game that convinced CG she wasn't going to play like In the top left, our red Protoss is ShoWTimE.
Yeah, I thought I had a chance. I thought if he gave me 100 games of PvP, I would surprise him with one build. Now I'm just like, nah, it's not gonna happen. Literally never.
Yeah. That's yeah. It's just insane how good you can be at PvP. Like, this matchup is one we always talked about as being like such a, you know, kind of like a bit of a coin toss sometimes, right? Like, mirror matchups have sometimes always had this element to it, but like PvP has always been a bit like, well, you know, especially as you're trying to expand, if they just try and kill you, it can be really difficult. And Phoenix versus Phoenix is like, you get behind and that's it, your game's over. So MaxPax is like, he doesn't follow the rules of PvP, he just makes his own matchup. Like, does it get to a point where we're actually playing MVP, like MaxPax versus Protoss? Because like, it's getting to that stage to me, like, where he's just so good in this matchup.
He's kind of like, time for some Brood War history, guys. He's kind of like Jaedong almost, where most people would consider ZV's. So right now, PvP would still be considered amongst other mere mortals that aren't MaxPax as a very much volatile matchup. Like, not exactly just a coin flip. Some people are better. Like, ShoWTimE is one of the better Protoss versus Protossers. He has a consistent win rate against a lot of Protosses. But it still is determined that if you are the #1 PvPer, you could still be beat by the #16 PvPer just because, like, things could happen, right? And in Brood War, ZVZ was actually considered literally a coin flip. Like, no one could figure it out, and then Jaedong figured it out. And he had like an 80-90% victory in it. That's kind of like where MaxPax is coming in now. He's the only one who seems to be able to figure it out and force his will onto others, even playing defensively, which is also really annoying about it, I would say, for the other competitors. Is they're like, well, I'm playing aggressive, I should control this. Yet I feel like I'm following you. That sucks. Stop it. So yeah, not to gush too much, but there's a reason MaxPax is talk of the town in the last couple of months.
You know, I think that's it as well for me, because it's not just like he's like doing like a couple of builds that's very aggressive and he can take the edge. It's like it's what he's doing defensively is so impressive, and I think specifically, as this time ShoWTimE is going to 3-gate and potentially even 4-gate all in. It's going to be 4-gate all in. I think what's impressive to me is sometimes when he loses games, it's like, oh, well, what he's trying to do defensively is so difficult. Of course he's going to slip it up once or twice. But to talk about this specifically, against a 4-gate, typically MaxPax adds on a Forge. So that's not something we saw against the Blink, but against the 4-gate alone, and I think he has confirmation enough of this now with the proxy gate being seen, he should typically add on a Forge, you get a cannon or two, and just the cannon DPS over time makes it a good enough trade for you as you hold on with the Void Ray and so on. So that's typically what happens. Obviously, you can't just kind of blink past the cannons or anything. You pretty much have to fight through them. And eventually, sometimes a 2 or 3 Void Rays, if we feel comfortable, you drop the Robo and start a Mortal production as well. That's more or less the usual go-to here. We'll see if that's going to be the case. I wonder if ShoWTimE, this pylon on the other side, almost had me thinking maybe he gets like a battery or 2 up nearby. And just try and like heal up a little bit through this. He's actually going to lose a Stalker very quickly here, and he knows he can't kill the Void Race. That's a lot of damage taken for ShoWTimE. MaxPax with a great start.
That's very unfortunate. The Void Ray was supposed to be actually a little more vulnerable, but just caught ShoWTimE not really together. You know, he was the one who was trying to evacuate. Because he said, you know, he couldn't one-shot the Void Ray. So at least it could go back. But he didn't even injure it. He just literally ran away. 2 Void Rays out, 2 shield batteries. There's that Forge that you were talking about as well. Because eventually ShoWTimE does get enough units to, again, one-shot Void Rays, and that's where things get a little testy. ShoWTimE already sees the writing on the wall and just taps out.